Welcome back to the channel. So y'all know how I like to have these conversation pieces, especially talking about black men, black women, our problems, our lack of communication, things that going on in the black community, being a black man, myself, having a black girlfriend, myself, loving black women, myself. I like to have these conversations and these conversation pieces. And Shahrazad Ali, he speaks on or have spoken on a lot of these different things and a lot of these different topics. I don't know if that's the proper way pronouncing her name, but no offense. But I seen this video I think like a week or two ago. It's not fresh in my mind, so I don't remember it point for point. But I know I had a lot of good things in it that I did want to talk about, or or go in it with y'all with. So I'm gonna play it. We're gonna start. Maybe this would be a thing. We do some like reactions to videos that I find or whatnot. My thoughts, what I feel, if I agree, if I disagree, if I have to pause the video to talk or say something, who knows? But let's get into the video.
Is that the black woman's disrespect and rebellion against the leadership and the authority of the black man is a direct cause of the breakdown in our black family structure. Now, of course, there are many black people who consider those fighting words because as black women, we have never been subject to the kind of examination that our men have been subject to since we have been here. We have been somewhat protected and shielded from any kind of critiquing about our personal behavior, whereas our men have always been up for examination. The book is not an attack on black women. I have never said that all black women do everything that I list in my book. None of us have lived long enough to do everything that I list in the book, but most of us do some of the things that I've listed in my book. And I do say that it is not because of generalizations that we are all victimized by some of the negative patterns of behavior in the book, but the book just represents our collective contribution. This is some of everything that we have done or that we do daily that contributes to the breakup of our relationship, the destruction of our man, and the failure of our children to be able to function. They did not tell us that all of that being my own person and I'm independent would lead to separation, loneliness, celibacy, and lesbianism. They didn't tell us that if you give up the man, you're going to take one of these things and it's worse and it will destroy your nation. They didn't give us that information. They made us think that it was some kind of glorified position to brag about the fact that I got my own job, my own credit card, my own car, so I don't need no man. I don't even know how we got that mixed up. Ain't none of that got nothing to do with being with no man.
Woo! 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 All right, let me calm down. Let me calm down. What she's saying, what she has been saying, I totally agree. We tend to, especially with within black women, black women tend. I keep saying we. I'm a man. I'm a man. I gotta put my. I'm a man. But yeah, like I tend to hear a lot or see a lot, especially on social media, especially talking with individuals and things of that nature, that, I'm an independent woman. I'm independent. I'm independent. I'm independent. I'm independent because I pay my own bills. I'm independent because I take care of my responsibilities. I'm, independent because nobody got to buy me nothing. I'm independent because I go out there, get my own paper, all these kinds of things. And my thing is, just because you get money, just because you take care with your bills and things of that nature, you bought yourself a house, you bought yourself a car, you got a credit card with a God knows what limit. Just because you have those things, that doesn't make that don't make you. No, I said it right. That doesn't make you an independent woman. That just makes you responsible and a responsible adult at that. Because regardless of what you believe in, a responsible adult take care of what they have incurred in life, as far as like debt or whatever, take care of their own bills, their own responsibilities, and can provide for themselves. So that doesn't make you independent just because you can take care of yourself. And more than not, being independent is just saying, I don't need somebody, whether it may be for money, if you want to throw that in there, if companionship, somebody to talk to, somebody to bounce ideas off of, somebody to grow. That's when you say you're independent, you are clearly saying that you don't need anybody. I will never say that. In crazy enough, you don't hear men say, I'm an independent man. Just I'm a man, because I know that I need a woman. Whether it has nothing to do with my financial situation. It has everything to do with the fact that sometimes I need somebody to talk to. Or even if it's not I need a woman, I need somebody to talk to when I'm going through issues, when I got something on my mind, to bounce ideas off of. I need somebody there just to have a conversation with. We as people need people to interact. So when you sprout that I'm an independent person, it's not just a narrow-minded view of, oh, I'm independent because I take care of my bills and responsibilities. That's what you're supposed to do. You can't be independent when you take care of your bills and responsibilities, but then you're going to sit here and say that you need somebody to talk to or whatever, or communicate, because we all need somebody to talk to, whether we like it or not. But you can't sit here and say those things and then sprout that I'm independent. They contradict with each other. Independency is not about just this narrow-minded view that I don't need no man to support me or whatnot because I get it on my own. It's very broad. Saying I'm independent means you don't need somebody. And that's a very negative and toxic way of looking at things. And then, especially if you want to believe that and you have somebody, you may want to talk to your significant other about how do you make them feel, and have an open discussion, because that's also what she alluded to earlier with the black woman, which I can kind of agree with, except for, especially nowadays we hear about the angry black women, so, and especially in the workplace and stuff like that. So we hear those critiques. But as far as in the relationship wise, especially dealing with a significant other, it almost becomes a situation where you can't say something about your significant other, especially if, dealing with black women. It's not an attack on black women, like she said, and I'm not saying that because I deal with black women. I have a black girlfriend, so that's my that's my zone. That's what I know. But sometimes you talk and say like, yo, this and that is the problem, an issue, and it's met with resentment, anger, or the constant, well, I do this because you do this. And then it has twisted and shifted to a conversation about what you have done. And black men are always criticized every day. You go on social media, go on TV, anywhere, you always hear the criticism of black men, and the excuse is, oh, because y'all ain't ish and all that. And it's like, no, that's not technically right nor fair, because nobody treats y'all like that. Or if we do try to treat y'all like that, it's considered wrong, which it should be, but I feel like it's on both ends. But I can keep going. Let's dive right back into it. See what else she's saying.
We have some serious relationship problems that nobody has been able to address us on, because everybody wants to pretend that this is not going on. Over 60% of our women are single, widowed, separated, or divorced. They don't have a man. I just came out of Florida, and they got a housing complex that the Urban League built, which is a black organization that is for women and children only. They say they don't allow any men in there. I didn't have time to deal with it, but I talked about them real bad. That's the silliest program I've ever heard of. Them women that had men, if they got a bunch of children, they need fathers. They need protection.
And that right there is truthful. The percentage of homelessness is high, and a lot higher in men than it is in women. And that's not to, go on to why or whatnot, but it is. And a lot of places, especially in New York, a lot of affordable housing is being filled with women and their kids, of course. And they'll tell you, you can't have anybody there, whatnot. Don't try to sneak, your guy around and stuff like that, and it's things like that. And those are things that have been said. I've heard have been said, or people have told me has been said. So that's so true in a household, a family, especially within our black community, needs both mother and father, and we have been subconsciously been fed in our system, in our society, about not having the man there, not having him there at all.
We hear about the drug problem that we have in our projects across the country. It's one of the major places that we have a drug problem. We talk about the great strength that we have as black women. Well, the welfare department don't rent government apartments to single black men. Those apartments belong to black women who are allowing this to go on in their home. We have not looked at what part of the responsibility do we share. Yes, black men sell a lot of drugs, and a lot of us black women get the money from them drugs and buy some of these fancy clothes we wear. Drive around in some of these fancy cars. He is not doing these things alone and without support from us, whether they are good or bad. See, we have a lot of power. We are very strong women. I'm saying that we're using our strength in the wrong direction. We're using it to tear our man down, tear our nation down, instead of building it up.
This probably gonna be the last time I pause the video. Well, not the last time. Like after this time, it probably be one more time. But what she says there it's so truthful, so impactful, because and I'm not gonna sit here and just blame the drug problem on black women. That would be crazy, and I'm 100% sure she's not doing the same. So don't take it as that. But a good question needs to be raised and posed about. We could say, especially in New York. I don't know who's going to be watching the video and how things go and where you live at, but especially in New York, a lot of these housing complexes, a lot of these places have women in it, and a lot of them are women with kids. No man around unless they're sneaking a guy, sneaking a dude in, or whatever the case may be. But a lot of them don't have men in it, and we can just see in a lot of our black communities that there aren't too many women and men together in those situations. So a lot of times the woman is left raising the child, for instance. So especially we could say around the 1970 area, if you look, historically, the war on drugs, coming home from war, the war, the deindustrialization of the schools, all these things help contribute to the situations that we're living in and the areas that we live in. So with all those things happening, like I said, a lot of the women were forced to raise the kids. So if a lot of the women were forced to raise the kids, the question can be posed that where are some of the behaviors that grown men today have or haven't learned? Because a child, regardless, I have children myself, two beautiful daughters, regardless of what anybody wants to say, my children are the product of their parents' teaching, and their environment that they live in. So things my child and my children will take in when they're adults, and when children will take into the adults, are being learned from their parents or not learned from their parents. So if that's the case, a lot of these guys that are out here doing the things that they're doing, they had to learn it or not learn it from somewhere. We can't blame just the fact that there's no man in the house for, he acted like this or he does this just because there's no man in the house. The question can be posed. The women contribute somehow to that, whether that contribution is directly or whether that contribution is because of the lack thereof. But somewhere so far along, that lessons that weren't taught had to be instilled somewhere. I can speak for myself because largely I've been raised by my mother and my grandmother. My father wasn't really there how I would wanted him to be, or for instance, so forth and so forth. We can go into that, at any time. But I've never turned to like, okay, I'm gonna be this big old dope dealer selling drugs, shooting people, beating old ladies up in the street. I ain't never been that kind of person. I had some recklessness in my youth and did some things that, I may not have been too proud of, but all that hardcore getting locked up, I had to put the E40 voice stuff, it wasn't me. So the question can be posed. They got to be learning it from somewhere. Not to just put that all on black women, but somewhere down the pipeline, something had to happen.
Having an education and a job does not necessarily mean you have a successful life. I keep telling black women that to raise a child, they say, well, I provided with food, clothing, and shelter. That's not raising a child, that's maintaining one. To raise a child, you need a parental coalition of a man and a woman. We have sons who, by not having a father in the home, they don't know how to respect women. They take on the black female emotionalism. They're doubtful. They're indecisive. They can't make a decision. They don't know what to do about being a man because we can't teach them that. We don't have that knowledge. We have daughters who grow up in a home where they don't see any affection, where there's no man there. They go out into the world and try to mate. They don't have no idea how to be no woman to no man, how to function in a house with a man, because they haven't seen it. Most of our children, just like us, get all the information we have about how you be with a mate off television.
See, and that was pretty much what I was saying, what I was alluding to, and she said it herself. You don't have to take this all for face value. You don't have to believe any word of it. You can have your own thoughts about it or whatever, but it's a conversation piece, a conversation that needs to happen, and a conversation that needs to be started. I agree largely in part with a lot of the stuff she says in this video. It's a lot more, as you could clearly see, about 6 minutes worth almost. Y'all can take a look at it yourself. I'll link the video in the description. Very powerful. Some of the things is very powerful. And if we can't go into these conversations with an open ear, without getting resentful and angry, and this goes for men and women. Writing in the comment section, just going crazy. If you're not going to listen and open your mind to the conversation, then this video I'm doing, her videos, may not be for you. Maybe some growing you have to do, or maybe you feel like you're fine and what you think is perfectly fine, but we won't advance, especially things in relationships between us as black men and black women will not get better until we start having the conversations. So we start talking to each other, communicating, and not looking to just talk to rebuttal, talk to take action, but talk to actually listen, have a conversation. We don't have to attack each other. We have to show each other love, because that's the only way we're going to grow. We have to learn to work together as men and women and stop tearing each other down. But that's going to be the video. Like I said, I'll put the link to this video in the description. And I'm out of here. Hope y'all have a good one.